Welcome back to Exceptional Talk with Dr. Clark. All right, so guys, this is the first time I've had to go into 3 sessions, but you cannot you cannot not have the rest of the story. Okay? All right, so we left off talking about, first of all, welcome back, Mr. Folks.
Thank you very much. I'm glad
All
to be here,
right,
Dr. Clark.
thank you. So we have to finish where we left off because, guys, you have to know the importance of having those individuals in the room. So if you didn't hear, please go back and listen to part 1 and part 2. All right.
So, how do you go from being in the basement to being the model of humanity? My simple concept is that you transfer the dignity to a method of customer service that's so phenomenal that people just want to be near your style of customer service because it allows them to receive the level of dignity that they think they deserve. See, the reason why you stay at the Waldorf Astoria in New York, because you believe, because you're wealthy, that you deserve to be handled that way. So
Absolutely.
you spend money to go and be treated that
Get
way.
that best
But
service.
but
Yes.
but but what if the Black community in the 21st century designed a level of customer service that we give to all people regardless of their money?
Wow.
Then that means that you can come around us based on our formula and get treated as though you had stayed at a five-star hotel. This is the
Everybody
secret.
gets the best treatment.
And because we teach it and then we manifest it in the community towards each other, then the community becomes healthier because you're constantly giving the dignity and the respect, and you're practicing a methodology that will generate billions. Billions. If you can take and understand the mind of Sam Walton, who made it clear that all my dream is that I want people to be able to go to the store and spend $100 on food and clothing at my store under one roof, based on the fact that his father and his uncle used to take people's land for a living on behalf of the government. They used to shut down people who didn't pay their taxes or whatever, and they would come home and they would be depressed. And he was like, I want to do something good for humanity. A young person asked me one day, what was the secret to business? And I manifested my own concept, and I'm going to share it with you before we get into this next part. If an individual understands that the single most important word in business on the planet Earth is percentage, if everybody gets their cut, you'll never have a problem with human beings. But when people don't get their cut, you're going to have hell to pay. So the writers were willing to strike because they thought their cut was off. The actors were willing to strike because they thought their cut was off. UPS employees were going to strike if they thought their cut wasn't going to be corrected. But when you're at the top and you're not a slave master mentality, and you know that you can take this pot of money, share it fairly with all of the facets of the ladder, then you've outsmarted capitalism because you don't have a slave master mentality.
All right.
Why is this important? Because once you get to the top and you understand the word percentage that
Yes.
Mr. Folks taught you, then you always make sure that everybody gets their cut and nobody gotta come running for you talking about we going on strike because you ain't paying me my cut. But if you take care of everybody, then you're
They
not gonna
have
have no
enough to do
problem.
it. Rich people have enough to do it.
Well,
But
see, it,
let's go back to the word though. The word said the poor we will have with us always. Why do you think God felt like that? Mentality.
say that again.
The word says the poor we will have with us always.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because as long as you're greedy and you don't see being fair in terms of percentages, but if you take care of everybody up and down that percentage ladder and fair to every person's um, percentage cut, then you're not going to have problems. And if you throw in rewards of appreciation for what each level does, then you have less problems with human beings if they know you appreciate them.
Right.
So black people, all black people in America cannot become any dimension of a slave master when you come into wealth. You cannot embody any dimension of a slave master. It
Yes.
is against our DNA, and it's against what we need to do in the 21st and 22nd and 23rd century. And you have to start talking in terms of centuries if you're going to turn that boat around. You cannot turn a cruise ship around in 2 seconds.
Right.
But the captain knows how to turn that boat around.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll calculate with his team, it's going to take us 45 minutes or to an hour to turn this boat around.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes time when you want to shift from where people are in the basement to the fact that we need you to get on the elevator. The first thing we got to do with the people in the basement is we got to convince them that getting accessibility to the elevator and the penthouse is possible.
Yes, that's the part. You got to believe that your dream can come true. But you said something that really kind of turned the light bulb on when you said about the fact that rich people are greedy. Greed, well, let me rephrase that. You didn't say that rich people are greedy. You said that we have this gap because of greed. So when you have greed, and that means that there's a two part here. You got to work with the ones that believe that they're not worthy to have of having the lifestyle that they can have. But then you got these over here that got all of the lifestyle that they have but not happy. But they need to have a change of mindset to know that you got to you got to be your brothers and sister keepers.
We don't need to educate them. What we need to do is get to the penthouse and show them there's another way to do humanity. I ain't trying to listen. I'm not trying to teach them nothing. I'm coming with the folks from the basement, and we're gonna do humanity better than you could have ever imagined. Because one of the things we're not gonna forget is that human nature is what it is. In other words, a black person is greedy is no different than a white person that's greedy. A selfish black person is no different than a selfish white person. So you never move away from the human characteristics. What we're talking about is developing character, where you develop better human beings for the sake of the overall planet. This is what I'm talking about. This is why you get into character development. Okay. This is why you get into leadership in terms of understanding the moral commitment that leaders don't let people down. Leaders are there to show people where they can go when they don't realize that they can go. That's what leadership is about. You elevate people when you're a leader. You can't, I truly believe what I'm about to say to you. All of the AU Center presidents, every spring before graduation, should have a public meeting where they present a paper on where they think we need to go as an intellectual. Could you imagine the president of Clark, CAU, stating to the community where the black community needs to go? Put that vision out there. Then have drinks and popcorn afterwards and conversation with the community. The president of Morehouse gives his conversational speech to the community of the vision. The president of Howard University up on the hill gives a conversation to the community and talks about where we need to go. You cannot be an academic leader and only raise money for the college. When do you talk to
Also,
the
too,
community?
you got to look at our leaders that are in the community. That is one of my visions, is to talk to the leaders, our ministers, that's
Well,
supposed to be pillars of the community. That these are the ones that I would love to get all of them in a one room and see what your mindset is and what is your plan for your community.
well, here's the
I've
thing.
started that. I just had a
Okay.
interview with Pastor Thomas um, last year. Great guy, had great information. In the process of having an interview with one of our pastors in one of the mega churches. I'm not going to call his name until I've gotten everything in order. But those leaders there, because there's a church just like the liquor store, there's a church on every corner, can really make a difference. Because
Well, I want to finish that point, please.
one thing that we have to understand, I know people have, the idea about, church, but if you change, it's just like schools. If you change the way you teach in your schools and have it where the kids will want to learn, that's the same way it has to be with church. You got to change it where people will want to come.
Well, when
And
you talk,
they learn, like you say,
okay.
humanity, and they learn dignity, and they learn the word, because that's your guide right there. Because it doesn't ever change.
When you want to change a community for the better, you have to change the chairs of power. And in the Black community, you have to shift the chairs. So I'm shifting the chairs in this conversation so you understand. Mental health mental health, public health needs to go to first position. Second position needs to go to the independent business community, along with the conscientious corporate folks that might want to participate. Third position goes to education folks. Fourth position goes to law enforcement. Fifth position goes to the Black church. When you move the Black church to the fifth position at the bottom of the top five, you now have their attention.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I believe that you educate Black ministers in America is Black people only go to church twice a month. Do not go to church 4 times a month.
Yeah, and
Go to church.
it got to be intentional. Why do you go? I mean, it become a societal thing to, people like, oh, did you go to church Sunday? Oh, you didn't go to church. Oh, you didn't go to church. Mm.
Yeah, I think you could serve the Lord. You could serve the Lord the other 2 Sundays doing something else.
Yeah.
You don't have
But
to be
he's
in the
right. He's
Lord's
right here
house.
is your heart. He wants your heart anyway.
Right. So you could serve the Lord. If there are 4 Sundays, you go first and you go fourth, and the second and third Sunday, you're doing something else. You're spending time being in, are you doing something for a family member? You're doing something for a neighbor, or you're doing something for the community at large. But you're not spending 4 Sundays in church. That's not healthy for the Black community, because we have sent a message to the Black church that y'all are not winning the respect of Black people across the country with your leadership. You're doing the same old, and you're living in a world where you're valuable, and you believe that you being valuable is valuable to me.
Right.
When you do God's work, it's strictly about service.
That's it.
God's work is always about service. It's never about you being in a position to have things that man considers valuable that you can't take with you at the end of life.
Right. Like
So
Lear jets and big
all
fine
those
homes,
things,
big fine cars, and
all those things that man
and the
is
people are
subjected
suffering in
to.
the churches.
Yeah, a church, the institution of church should be a service oriented environment at all times. Everything should be service. So that brings me to why I believe customer service, customer care is one of the most important 21st century moves in the Black community. Once you change the way you do customer service, there are no people that are more valuable than the least among us. So I would not treat Anita Baker better than I would treat the homeless man.
Right.
I would not do it.
They both are valued, should
They're
be
both
valued
valuable.
the same way. They're valuable. Absolutely.
Right. And even if that ain't a European concept, that's a concept that could easily be
Yeah.
employed by African people so that we're getting ready to change the game with energy. Because see, when you treat all people good, there's a power in that because you don't know who God's choosing for greatness among those people. So the least among us that you treated good may be the force because of where they're now being positioned to where you needed a building to continue whatever you were doing. This person gives you the building, but you looked at them and didn't think they could give you a building, but you didn't know that that person was worth, $500 million. So when you treat all human beings in theory good in the community when it comes to customer service, the way that you treat, I was experiencing bad customer service the other day at a local hotel and made it my business to call the management and say exactly what I experienced and why I thought it was inappropriate for someone to do that at the front desk. But I wasn't going to let them get away with it. I wasn't going to just say, oh, well, that's just the way we. No, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. And I think one of the things in our community is we have a mixed position about customer service. A lot of us will tolerate what goes on and not say anything. Then we treat each other less than what we deserve, and we tolerate that. And the bottom line is we need to have the finest customer service on the planet. We built the country as slaves. If anybody knows about service, it's us.
I hear you.
So how do you not turn that into a gold mine for yourself?
Right. Y'all can see Mr. Folks is very passionate when it comes to state of the community. All right. So we're going to shift gears. That information I think everybody needs to understand and need to really, really horn in on what he said. Because if you are tired of our people doing the same old, listen to his plan. All right. So this man is a great producer. He produced a movie, guys, that you all definitely want to hear about. Also, he was Spike Lee's mentor. So, Mr. Folk, tell us a little bit about your movie.
Well, we're going to run it for 3 months. It's all free. You'll never pay to see this film. And the film is about Jeannie Battle, who was the first Black secretary for John F. Kennedy. She was his first employee that was Black in his Boston office when he was a congressman, stayed with him when he was a senator, and then went to the White House with him, was with Kennedy until November 22nd when he died in Dallas, Texas. The beauty of the Jeannie Battle story is that
We just lost your.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
She wasn't a college graduate, and she had this wonderful opportunity based on Kennedy's Black friends who said, if you're gonna run for president, you need somebody Black on your staff. So he said, bring me somebody. So they sent Jeannie Battle because she was a person who very brilliantly was a student and never got to go to college. So she takes the job. She does a remarkable job. Kennedy adores her, appreciates her. And the film is 55 minutes long. It tells her story. And there's some twists in there that are very profound. And we want to share it with the nation as public art, And it's my first cinematic masterpiece at 68 years old. And I'm very proud of the film. It took 15 years to make. Thank you. Took 15 years to make. I just have not really been interested in filmmaking, but it came to me that that God wanted me to do this film, and I'm so proud of it that for the next 4 years we're going to share it across the country, but locally you'll be able to see the film for free at the Lang Carson Recreation Center, which is 100 Flat Shoals Avenue in Atlanta. 30316, and we'll be showing it March, April, and May. And I'll make sure you get a flyer so you can share it with all your listeners. But the film will also accompany. You'll get a free bag of popcorn, fresh popped, air pop popcorn, and you'll get a soft drink.
All right. Can you repeat that one more time so that people, again, he's going to share the information with me and I'll be able to share it with you. But I want him to tell you one more time, guys. It has taken him 15 years, but always not about our time.
By God's time. So the film is the Genie Battle story. It'll be at the Lang Carson Recreation Center, which is located at 100 Flat Shoals Avenue, Atlanta 30316. And the dates in March, April, and May will be available on the flyer. And we look forward to folks coming out and seeing the film. I decided to do a 3-month run because sometimes in our community, you got to let the word of mouth trickle. And then folks be like, girl,
Gotta go see
girl,
that.
girl, you need to take your husband.
Right.
I will say that I just recently showed it to some seniors, and a gentleman said, I ain't even know where my wife was going. She just asked me if I was coming with her. And I said, yeah, I'm going with you. So he came and he said to me while he was sitting there, he said, I'm so glad I came. But then after the film was over, I reached to put my hand out, shake his hand. He said, man, I ain't accepting no handshake. You got to give me a hug, brother. I mean, a warrior brother. I ain't talking about no softy. This is a warrior brother, big old brother. He said, man, you got to give me a hug, brother. That was beautiful. And so I think once the community sees the film and sees the love in the film, they'll also see that Miss Battle is an American treasure. And my dream for her is that she gets the Presidential Medal one day from the President of the United States, and she gets 2 libraries. And I won't tell you why until you see the film. I hope she gets a library in Massachusetts, and I hope she gets a library in Maryland one day. Those are my 3 wishes for Miss Battle in history. And I'm just going to continue to forge ahead, knowing that I created a film, but now I have a mission to get her proper respect in the history of America.
Great. Well, I want to say that I would love to see this movie in every theater in the country. And word of mouth can do just that. Don't give up, Mr. Folk. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing some great work.
Thank you.
Just keep on forging ahead with the issues that we're having in our community. I love the conversations that we've had. It has definitely grown me in a lot of ways. Guys, he always talk about solutions, not the problems. So thank you all. I definitely want you all to hear every word he has to say. We're definitely going to have him back here on our show. Mr. Folk, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Dr.
All right. All right. Would you like to leave our viewers with something, a takeaway? I always ask my guests to leave something that you want them to think about. A takeaway.
I always want us to remember that there is no great value in us imitating any dimension of a slave master in any form or fashion of our human experience. We have to always check anything that you see that represents the mindset of a slave master in your experience as a Black human being. Every time I've ever been in power or leadership, I've always made it my business to treat people better than they expected.
Awesome. Never take us back to where we
never go back.
Never go
always back. Elevate the human experience when you're at the top. I want to last say this. This has been proven to be a fact. When you're at the top, always be fair. Because whenever you're at the top and you're unfair, they will remove you from power.
All right. Y'all heard it here. All right. Thank you, Mr. Folks, again. Exceptional Talk with Dr. Clark. Have a great one. Bye.